I'd like to call this meeting of the City of Clayton Board of Zoning Appeals to order July 2nd at 7 p.m. Roll call.
Mr. McGinnis?
Here.
Ms. Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Madewell?
Here.
Ms. Caldwell?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Thank you very much. First item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting. We're looking for approval of the minutes for the June 4th, 2024 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Do I hear any additions, corrections, amendments, misspellings, or any other comments on the minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of the June 4th meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes?
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Madewell?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No old business. We have new business on the agenda tonight. It's variance 24-04. It's a request for a variance to section 1121.02.d.1.ii of the Clayton Zoning Code and Design Standards of the Village of North Clayton, specifically requesting to be permitted to build a home within the rear setback and place a pool less than 15 feet from the rear property line at the property located at 4961 Steineman Street. Request was made by Kurt Grimm, property owner. Let me go through the procedures so that we understand what's going on tonight. We've called the meeting to order, went the roll call. What we'll do is we'll administer an oath to all those members of the public who wish to speak on the agenda item. That's both for and against. So if anybody here wishes to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, I do. I do. Thank you. Next will be the agenda item that we just talked about a little bit, and staff will present the case. We'll have questions for staff. We'll close those questions out, and then we'll have the applicant come up. And when you come up, please go to the podium, state your name, your address, and then we'll go from there. You can talk about anything that we would have questions about, or if you want any clarifications to what staff had to say. At that point, we'll have a motion to open up for public comments, but not seeing a full house here, that may be a moot point. So we'll just go through and look for any comments, and then we'll go through, have a motion to close the floor to comments, and then we'll talk about the case, see if there's any discussion among the board members, and we'll see if we can't find a disposition. If we go through disposition, we'll be going through a findings of fact for the case, and then we'll have a motion to either approve or approve with conditions or disapprove the applicant's request. That's how we work our meetings. So, first case tonight is VAR 2404. As discussed earlier, Amanda?
Good evening. So this application is VAR 2404. It's on Steinman Street. The applicant is Mr. Krim, and it is a request for a setback and swimming pool variance. Next slide, please, Kevin. So the application was received on June 10th, 2024, and it's a request for a setback variance to section 1121.02D.1II of the Clayton Planning and Zoning Code, and that is for the swimming pool, and a setback variance to development standards of the Village of North Clayton, and that is for the house. It's actually for the garage placement. The applicant desires to place a home, home less than 30 feet from the rear of the property boundary and a pool less than 15 feet from the rear of the property boundary. The applicant, again, is Mr. Kurt Krem. He's the property owner. Public notice was printed in the Eaton Registered Herald on June 19th, 2024, and letters to the property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were postmarked on June 18th, 2024. The subject property is 4961 Steinman Street, parcel M601633230078. It is .2254 acres and is zoned PDD, a planned development district. And just by way of history, this used to be two separate 40-foot lots, and they were combined to make the larger lot. So this is the general location of the property. The highlighted area is the Village of North Clayton, the PDD, and that is the more specific location. So Steinman Street is in the front there, and there is a public alley along the back. And then the property to the immediate northwest there is it's zoned RSD with a special overlay, and it is owned by a single person. Next slide. The applicant desires to construct a home within the rear setback and a pool less than 15 feet from the rear property line. The requested variance is from the development standards of the Village of North Clayton in section 1121. .02.D.1.II of the Clayton and Planning Zoning Code. The development standards for 90-plus lots in the Village of North Clayton is a 30-foot rear yard setback. As I noted earlier, these properties, or this particular lot, is the combination of two smaller lots. So had it remained two smaller lots, the rear setback would have only been 7 feet. So if you were to look at the properties on either side, the setback for their garages is 7 feet. And then 1121.D.1.II, the swimming pool and pool house shall be located in the rear yard only and shall be set back a minimum of 15 feet from the primary structure and any lot line and not within any recorded easement. So the placement of this pool is 8 feet from the rear lot line. It is not in an easement, and it is in the rear of the home. Next slide, please, Kevin. Oh, I'm sorry. The applicant, Kurt Krim, indicates the purpose of the home and pool are to serve as a primary residence for he and his wife to live and enjoy. And the applicant and his wife recently combined the two lots of the Village of North Clayton to allow for a larger home. The applicant must build lengthwise instead of depthwise, as the property is shorter than the normal 90-foot lots outlined in the development standards in the Village of North Clayton. And the applicant wishes to somewhat match the garage access on the lots on either side of his subject property. So this is the placement. The blue highlighted is the pool. And then if you'll see, the majority of the home is within the 30-foot setback and meets the standard. It is the garage in the back that is closer to the back lot line. And that's just a closer view. So for code guidance, the applicable code section that addresses general regulations for properties in Clayton for the single-family residential use is 1121.02. And particularly the section that we've referred to multiple times regulates swimming pools specific to those properties within the district. The applicable document that addresses the development standards in the Village of North Clayton is the North Clayton Development Standards Handbook, page 21, begins the regulations with the 90-foot lot width, and I believe that that is in your packet. In addition, the board should refer to section 1141.07, which outlines the procedures for obtaining a dimensional or locational variance from the development standards in the Planning and Zoning Code. So after evaluating the applicant's request, staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the requested variance as submitted, considering the following. The request is the result of the property owner's desire to live and enjoy the residential property in the Village of North Clayton. The subject property does not currently have immediate rear neighbors and is unable to have such neighbors in the foreseeable future. There is one property there, one home, but there's not a development behind them. And the applicant is wishing for the minimum necessary variance to build a residential home and install a residential swimming pool. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Amanda. Any questions from the board? Sorry to say, I always do. We're combining two 40-foot lots?
The Planning Commission already did that. Because it is in a PDD, we administratively could not combine the lots. It had to go back to Planning Commission. So it went to Planning Commission, then it went to City Council, and they approved the combination of the lots. So if the lot was still a 40-foot lot, he would be meeting the setbacks for the garage. It would be fine.
Okay, so that's why the 90-foot plus is applicable instead of the 40 plus
Yes,
40.
yes.
Okay, I appreciate that, thanks. Now, the standards that are applicable are the North Town Center standards?
Yes, they are the
if you
Village of
will.
North Clayton for the garage. The pool is the standard zoning code.
Okay. Do you know whether the applicant has talked to their HOA?
Yeah, he can, do you mind if he responds?
Certainly. Please, if you can. I'm addressing my comments to Amanda because she's the one that was speaking, but if you can answer it, it'd be great.
So you need my name and address? It's Kurt Krim, and currently I reside at 57 Grady Court, Dayton, Ohio, 45409. So, yeah, I've been in contact the whole time with the HOA, the neighbors, and they've been very receptive to everything I've been doing.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll be with you in a moment then.
Okay, I'll just hang out.
Stand by, yeah, thanks. Okay, so those standards, are they much different than our existing code?
These standards within the Village of North Clayton, they are more restrictive than the standard code.
Okay, because what I did was I know the Village of North Clayton, I know that area. I also know that, there's very specific building structure, yeah, that's up there. And I went out and, silly me, I pulled up their HOA rules. And they're very restrictive, including not coming to any governmental agency without written permission from the design group and the design board of that area. And I was wondering whether we have been contacted by them and whether we run any potential risk of going ahead and even hearing this case, not having written authorization.
So I have not personally been contacted by them. I don't think Ellen was either. I think the potential risk for this board is very minimal. I think the risk would be for Mr. Krim for coming to the board without the written permission. I can't speak for the HOA, but I know that whenever he came and combined his lots, that they were here, they were very supportive of the project.
Okay, so you were aware of that.
Yes.
We have a representative, a city representative on their DSS or their board that does the reviews of these projects. Do we still have an active City of Clayton employee that's a member of that group?
It would be either I or Ellen would do the reviews.
Okay, so I was just wanted to make sure, there's a lot of specifics that I saw in there and most of the ones that I noticed are really subjective rather than quantitative. And I know that with a swimming pool or something along those lines, it could be wide open for interpretation based on what neighbors think and so forth and so on. I did a quick drive around the area and noticed that, I didn't notice any swimming pool, number one. But by the same token, there's an awful lot of specific references to just things that we don't entertain as a board. Do you see any particular blowback from that? From the HOA or from the people over there that we may or may not have to deal with?
So, like I would say, and I don't mean to put Kurt on the spot, but I think any of the liability would fall on Mr. Krim and his relationship with the HOA board. We, as a body, as a city, do not enforce any of the HOA rules. I mean, so the design standards, we absolutely do, but their HOA rules are their HOA rules. That's a separate entity.
Everything that I've communicated.
Go, Mr. Krim,
Yep,
please.
sorry. Everything I've communicated in my application and all the materials that you have, that's been communicated to the HOA. I've gotten emails back from the president, says not a problem. They're very supportive. They're most anxious to get me to break ground because they want something going on back there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I appreciate the positive feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, because like I say, they're very prescriptive about what to do, what not to do. They've got a entire laundry list of covenants and restrictions. In all those, and, you know, again, they're subjective, they're not quantitative. You know, when they talk about noise, they talk about irritating the neighbors rather than a decibel level. You know, something that we're used to looking at. So that's why I'm asking these questions. The other thing is that they have a statement in there when it comes to approval of plans, saying that the design committee is, in its sole discretion, may from time to time authorize variances from compliance to the design criteria set forth in the promulgated according to the declaration, blah, blah, blah. And I think it would probably be good for you, sir, to get a copy of this, really take a good, close look at it.
What's that?
At the design standards, if you will.
I have that.
Okay, the
very-
75-page document?
I'm very familiar with all of it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well,
Been studying it
under section 5.9, they're talking about what we're looking at tonight, and they need to go ahead and get that shoved in their face so that they can approve it as well, if we approve it, or at least concur with what we're doing is correct. I just want to make sure that all the Ts are crossed, all the Is are dotted. And this is my first time dealing with that group over there, if you will. So I'm a little bit hesitant, you know, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything according to the book and that everything is communicated properly back and forth between the city and them. And I think the one thing that kind of got my attention when I was reading through this is a section here that talks specifically about compliance with zoning, and it says, without the approval of developer or unless otherwise permitted pursuant to the applicable lot declaration, no owner or applicant shall file with any government authority having jurisdiction over North Clayton or any part thereof of any application or petition for zoning, rezoning, special use permit, zoning variance is included in this laundry list that I'm going through now, affecting the use of any portion of North Clayton. To the extent that the same are applicable, the owners and occupants of North Clayton shall develop and use their respective lots in accordance with the zoning conditions and all other requirements of this declaration. So, you know, what they're doing is they're assuming that control of approval to make
Right.
sure. So I really want to make sure that you're in handshake with these guys and gals.
I am.
Okay, that's perfect. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to cover us to make sure that at least we're aware of that and those conditions. So if we have another case that comes over before us, we can look at it similarly under a little bit more of an intense microscope than what we may. For a normal property owner, bringing in a request for variance for a setback of a pool, you know, or an encroachment into an easement. So that's all I wanted to do is kind of clarify that and bring that out, if it's okay. Okay, thank you, appreciate you entertaining me. Okay, any other questions for Amanda or comments? Okay,
Understanding that if we approve this variation, like Bob's saying, then it's really responsibility goes to Mr. Krim to make sure you get their blessing.
Yes.
We have
They-
no control
yeah.
over that.
They
Yeah.
still have to approve my plans.
Yes.
And approve the plot layout.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
So-
I just don't want to submit them something prematurely without having the
Right.
city's approval.
Yeah. So if we approve this, then
You're done.
We're done.
And it'll be up to the HOA to approve it.
and I appreciate that.
No problem.
As long as we don't get legal involved, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
I-
No disparaging remarks to anybody here.
I have a
Okay.
question, just to make sure I'm understanding the plan correctly. So the pool in the position that you've proposed would be about 9 feet from the rear property line?
Yes.
Okay, and that's in line with other garages of your neighbors and everything like that?
The garage will still be set back. I mean, if you looked at the one photo, you can see how the garages from my neighbors are pushed all the way up to the back. And originally, believe it or not, we had the house flipped. where the garage was on the left-hand side. And but then we ran into a problem placing the pool. So we switched it 180 degrees, and then I wanted it more in line with the other houses. I'm very cognizant of, I want to fit into the neighborhood. I don't want some monstrosity that, everybody goes, oh my gosh. No, so.
Yeah, I think the position of the garage, considering that you combined two lots and that's what changed the placement position for the garage, is not really an issue. It's similar to all your neighbors. And then when it comes to the pool, the normal rule would be 15 feet back, and you're at about 9 feet back.
Correct.
So you're only about 6 feet
Right.
into the area is what we're discussing here.
And I'm maintaining the 15 from the property line and from the house.
One other comment, and this is more curious thing on my part. We have kind of rules on a swimming pool too. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah.
About fences and
Yep.
that sort of thing? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I just
it'll all be fenced
Make sure
in.
that's, didn't want to see you back here in 2 months.
No.
Well, I think we moved pretty smoothly into talking about to the applicant, didn't we? Okay. Now, the placement of the pool, I see on that line, that picture with the blue, that there's a 30-foot building setback, which is a diagonal line that parallels the alley back there.
Yeah, the line actually went, because there's two lots.
Right. Now, is that the 30-foot setback from the house?
Property line.
From the property line, okay.
It's 30 feet this way.
Gotcha. How close to the house is the pool, that one corner of the pool, the lower corner? Is that 15 feet?
Well, that's a porch
Right.
right there. So, yeah, there's 15 feet between the corner of the house to the pool.
Okay.
That placement, I did that. So, until I get the formal plot done, will I know exact dimensions there. But talking with my builder, and, we feel confident that we can maintain the limits on the side and to the house. The problem was gonna run into, we were starting to get within the 15 feet of the back. So, but I believe we'll be out of the easement.
Okay. Do you know if that's a utility easement, or is that just
It's a utility easement.
It is, okay,
It's with utility easement.
okay.
And the pool is not permitted to be built in the easement, so.
Okay, so the pool won't be
That
in there, which is good.
easement.
I noticed when I drove by the property, it's a raised area back there. Are you, topographically, it's pretty much straight along the way the alley is back there in the back,
Yeah.
back of your plot?
Yep.
And then it kind of goes down, right? Where's the pool going to be? Is it going to be down, or are you going to be cutting into that, or do you have any plan for that?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that pool's going to straddle that little hill that's back there, or whether it's going to be back toward the house a little bit more, or are you going to be taking that out?
I'm of the expectation that the whole plot's gonna be excavated. And if I'm not mistaken, we have to probably raise the house up to meet the codes that's going, with the development standards, I believe. So I'm gonna assume all that is, I'm not trying to put it into a valley or anything like that.
Right, I understand, and I appreciate that, thank you. That's what I was looking for, is some sort of a clarification.
Yeah.
Because you do have that little grade back there.
Yeah.
It goes down maybe, I don't know, I didn't get out and walk it, but maybe a couple of feet?
Maybe. You're explaining something to me that I haven't looked at that closely, so.
Okay. Your trash pickup's gonna be back there too?
Yes.
Okay, because I noticed that the dumpsters were out there, like everybody else's is, but,
Yeah.
you know, in North Clayton, they're all in the back, you know. You see any problem with trash trucks and stuff like that going back and forth through there, and any potential risks?
I don't think, I mean, I'm not gonna interfere with that. That's, I mean, they'll be traveling along the road. Yeah, no, I don't see any problems.
Okay. You may want to think about it down the road, because, you know, if we get ice or something like that, you know, I don't think the city's going to go down there and put any salt down or anything along those lines. And if those guys hit that little curve and it's icy, yeah, it may be something for you to
Could
think
be
about.
problematic.
Part of what we do is point out risk.
Yeah,
And we're pointing that out to you, my
yep,
friend.
I understand.
So,
Yeah,
that's a possibility, you know.
absolutely.
You know, so,
Well, I
You
have
never-
my.
you never know.
I'll have the driveway that will go all the way out to the road. I don't plan on fencing, you know, the fence will actually probably run between the garage and then down that way. So there should be ample area, I think, there for,
Did you take a peek at the, now, Mr. Madewell asked you about our swimming pool standards? you
Yes.
know, For fencing and all that.
Yep.
Do they conform with the specific standards that you're going to have applied to you based on where you're building?
again, I don't know if I understand what you're asking.
I'm saying that there might be a little difference between what the city of North Clayton is looking at for a fence and what swimming pool regulations may require. I think we're requiring a 5-foot fence
A minimum,
at minimum.
yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's acceptable it's going to be acceptable to the design board. Not sure. Again, this is something you
Well,
may want
it'll-
to think about.
There's already fences in the neighborhood, and so I won't be doing anything new. I'll be putting a fence up similar to what's on other properties. There's certain things you can't use, they don't like white vinyl or things like that, but I'll figure out, I mean, I've looked around, and I don't believe that'll be a problem.
Okay? Okay.
And they don't have any, they don't have any swimming pool standards. They revert, they default to the city of Clayton.
Correct. And that's, I think there's on our website, I think there's a hot link that brings that right up, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think there is.
Yeah, I read it.
So, okay, perfect, perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing your due diligence.
Yeah, no problem.
All good, all good. Any other questions for the applicant? So just to clarify, we're looking at a variance to the current rear building setback for the garage and swimming pool. And you, Mr. Krim, are requesting the rear setback for the garage and swimming pool to be established at a minimum of 8 feet from the property line, the rear property line,
Correct.
allowing reasonable use of the property and aligns the garage in line with the adjacent house and keeps the current 8-foot utility easement unencumbered, as you've written in here. I noticed in the letter of intent that you were also talking about a pool or a building, a pool house or something like that back there too?
No, I don't know where that came from,
Okay.
because I haven't mentioned a pool house at all.
You may be referring, the section of zoning code that was in the packet, it does refer to, the pool house, but he's not proposing a pool house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
They were right next to each
See how I get confused?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, okay, this is good. Okay, so that's what we're looking at, we're looking at setback. You are well aware then of the design standards of the city of North Clayton.
Absolutely.
You're going to be taking this information to the board, and you know, your building plan and working through them
Yeah.
for all this. And in your back pocket, you're going to have this variance
Yes.
when it comes to the easement or anything
Right, if
that they
questions come up about that.
ask for. So that's what you're doing, is due diligence to prepare yourself for that meeting, right?
Exactly. But like I've said, I've been in contact with the previous board president, who actually is going to be my neighbor on the west side. He's actually the guy that recommended the 2 lots that are sitting next to his house. I was looking farther out the plat, and he made a suggestion. I took his suggestion and moved forward from there.
Well, there's
So-
nothing wrong with good faith, and I don't have any problem with that. You know, I'm just, again, I read things and I say, oh my goodness, does this mean we're on the hook? Which is why I went off of my little,
Yep.
you know, questioning there to poor Amanda.
I understand.
But she's a city manager, and she can toss me off of this anytime she wants. So good, okay, so we're good. Any other questions for the applicant here, Mr. Krim?
Well, you guys are gonna, just indulge me on this. I want to make sure on the fencing thing, because I really trying to protect you on that, but, or help you. Is a fence around the whole property considered the pool fence, or is that, I don't think so. Don't you have to have a separate fence around the pool?
I don't think that it's required that there's a separate fence directly around the pool, as
Okay.
long as there's at least a 5-foot fence around the property where the pool is. So if it's in the
That-
rear, it has to be
I
in
just
the
want to
rear.
make sure,
Yeah.
because I know sometimes it doesn't count. So, okay.
No problem. Appreciate the,
Okay, thank you
Interest.
very much. I appreciate it, Mr. Krim, thank you. Do we have any input from any of the neighbors, or did anybody,
I have not received anything.
do I hear a motion to close input?
I'll make a motion to close.
Here a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Madewell?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. The next thing we need to do then is to, is there any discussion among the board? About where we're at, where we're going, how we're going to get there?
I think it's a pretty straightforward request, and I feel like it's an easy variance to grant.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Since it's so easy, you can read the findings of fact.
Well, I'd be happy to, but I think I heard Mr. Madewell wanted to read the findings of fact, so.
Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to any other land, structure, or building within the same zoning district. I agree with that. Everybody okay?
Yeah, the combining of the 2 lots is the special circumstance and condition.
Agreed.
A literal interpretation of the planning and zoning code would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same zoning district under the same provisions of the planning and zoning code. I would agree with that as well.
Yes.
The special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. Agree?
I agree, and again, the combination of the 2 lots to be able to accommodate the dwelling causes somewhat of a oddness back there, you know, that has basically created the problem. However, it's a problem that we can resolve.
A4, granting the variance requested will provide the minimum necessary relief to alleviate the practical difficulties the applicant is experiencing. Agree.
Agreed.
5, granting the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the Planning and Zoning Code and will not cause damage or harm to the neighborhood or otherwise be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. Agree?
Agreed.
6, the proposed variance will not constitute a change of zoning district, including a variation in use on the official zoning map. In no case shall the board approve a variance for use which is not permitted in the zoning district in which the land, structure, or building is located. Agree.
I would agree. However, since this is an overlay, we needed to make sure that we're in tune with the development standards applied to the overlay. and the standards of development applied to the village of North Clayton or the town center.
7, other relevant factors that may assist the board in weighing and balancing the public and private benefits and harms to determine if the requested relief is necessary, with the exception that no non-conforming use of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district, and no permitted or non-conforming use of land, structures, or building in any other zoning district shall be considered justification for approval of the requested variance. I disagree. I don't think.
I don't either, except Mr. Krim, please, take the information that we've given you. You can use that as a relief for any encroachment and for justification for the placement of your garage and your pool. And by all means, go through that board, go through the specifics there, and we wish you luck. I hope this will help. Hearing the findings of fact, do I hear a motion?
I move that we grant the requested variance to case VAR 24-04.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Madewell?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krim. Enjoy, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm sure you are. Do we have any thing for next month?
Not that I know of, not at this time.
Based on that, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.